Hey everybody, it's Jay. Back with another four tabling table. We're going to try this again, four tabling quote unquote session. And this time, some keys for me are just going to be pay a little bit more attention to my 3-bet and check raise sizing, as some of you pointed out in the last video. And for those of you who are fans of the Krantzian ramble, I'm not going to totally eliminate it, but I do have to recognize that it can be distracting, especially when you guys are watching and trying to pay attention to all the tables when I'm not even talking about what's happening on the table. So I'm just gonna try to focus a little bit more on what's going on even when I'm not in the hands, and what I can say in general about some things that I may have just overlooked last time. I sometimes take it for granted that flopping sets is difficult, but you know what I mean. Sometimes I take it for granted that like a fold is an obvious fold or a squeeze is an obvious squeeze. Partly because I just haven't made a lot of videos in a while, and partly because maybe something that was standard that I wasn't used to explaining higher stakes videos is worth explaining at micro stakes. So I was playing for just like a little bit before. We got the same setup, 3 25-cent, 50-cent tables on the table 1, 2, and 3, and then on table 4 we got a four-handed, and I'm opening on the bottom right, four-hand 50-cent dollar game. I'm opening very wide unless this is going to be a very aggressive table when it's four-handed. I mean, I'm pretty much playing close to the same types and percentages of hands that I would play in a heads-up match. Now, until I know otherwise or have reads on the players. Now, in Sexy Beastie calls, other than noticing his fine-looking screen name and the pocket kings I have in the top left, I'm kind of putting him. I'm going to c-bet 2/3 pot, and sometimes I'm going to barrel here, but I'm kind of putting him on a range that includes like possibly paint that hits this, and also pocket pairs. When I get check raise here, I mean, usually people's ranges seems to be pretty polarized, but I don't really know. Like, would he check raise king 10? Maybe four-handed, probably not. Probably check raise king jack and sets, maybe ace king. If he didn't 3-bet it, he'd probably 3-bet that. Might also be check raising bluffs, which is kind of a tricky situation to play against, and but I have to fold when I have a 10 off. I suppose I could 3-bet, but I don't have any reason to really start to get into like a rebluffing situation. Pocket kings I check just because I think these boards play kind of face up. Again, I don't have any reads on rational risks. If I continue to get bet into, I'm probably just gonna let this one go, because he could definitely be bluffing, and it's pretty exploitable if I'm always betting an ace and only checking pocket kings, and really, makes it very difficult for me to call down to the river. This is just an occasion in which I'm going to fold, pay a little bit more attention to rational risk, and in the future, probably try to check, an ace to him and so on. So, what is this, a blind battle, and I get raised. It's weird. I mean, I'm just gonna make a small re-raise and just get it in with these stack sizes. It's the kind of thing where, like, if I call, and I'm curious what you guys think there. I just assume that if I call, I'm not really going to get much action when I check, because it seems like I've got a big hand and he's going to slow down. But then again, when I do 3-bet, it really requires him to be raising with a pocket pair and calling it off, and I'll probably get the money from those hands anyway. So as I talk this out, I think I like actually a call. Not trying to be results oriented because he folded, but I think I actually do like a call for those reasons that I gave. As you'll see, I don't have a heads-up display yet, and that's really because this is just actually I haven't had time to play since recording my last video. This guy leads. I'm not quite sure what to make of it, but I'm usually like way ahead or way behind here, and I'll probably just call again and If he bets the river, I might. Well, now we have. I thought about raising the turn and try to get more of his money in, but you know, here I guess I'll min raise and try and get him to call with a hand that isn't an ace. I mean, you could call saying that, thinking that like he's not going to put any more money in unless he has a 4, but his stack size is just so small. The reason I don't shove is if he has an ace, we're chopping anyway. So stack size is so small that I think you need to try to get more value. And the question to me was whether or not I could get that by raising the turn or by calling and trying to get a bluff, some more money from him on the river. So and we'll raise this up and check this. Yeah, so I haven't really had open-ended. And by the way, if there's like you guys have any questions about something that I happen to miss because there's a lot of action or I'm talking about another hand, feel free to just point it out in the thread. I love the discussion that we had going on really everything that you guys were able to pick up on and point out and all the hands. In the last video thread, let's make a habit of that because I think like that's the way for all of us to get the most out of these videos. I mean, I think passively watching videos can be great, but you really learn the most when you participate and when you discuss the stuff that you just watched. And it's like that with any skill development, especially poker. I mean, you really need to just talk about this stuff and rigorously exhaust your thinking about it. But yeah, I haven't had time to put in another session, which is for me is great because that's just a spazzy check raise. Let's see. I wish I had a better like note-taking app because I can't really figure out how to do this quick. All right, so check raise all in for like loose call over there, loose open over here, flopping boats, got lots of hands. What's going on here? Here we want a 3-bet, here we want a slow play. I guess I'll just lead for 2/3 pot on the river. The reason I slow play here, I mean, I often check raise here too. The reason I slow play, okay, so interesting. Really interesting when I get raised on the river here. It's like, I don't think he check jacks full. Does he have like pocket 7s? It seems reasonable, but I mean, of course he could have a flush draw that decide not to bet the turn. I think I just jam the river here and hope he doesn't have pocket 7s. Get him to call it off with a king, with the flush, sorry. Obviously, there's more combinations of flushes that might check the turn than there are hands that have pocket 7s. There's, well, one of those. So anyway, I guess what I was trying to say before all this action occurred was I think I had something to say about one of those other hands, so if you pick it up, please clue me in. Yeah, what I was trying to say is that I think it's good for me personally that I have these weekly videos. So I'm going to be making more and making them more often, so it forces me to just continue to play. In addition, hopefully between this video and next video, and the reason I'm HUDless was what I was really trying to get at, is I just didn't have time and I wanted to set up, I'm going to keep betting here, try and get him to call with Broadway that is less than mine, and now I check because there's no value to be gotten. Here I'll call when I kind of have position. Yeah, I just got PT4. I haven't had a chance to really go into it and set it up, and the last thing that I wanted was to be figuring out how to work my HUD during this video. I mean, I need to play a session or two, get familiar with the software so I can show you guys how to use it in a video, and also so I'm not really like, yeah, just struggling not only with the pace of the action, even though I was doing a two-tabling video with the HUD, but also like trying to suss out what my stats mean. So yeah, and by the way, if any of you guys use PT4 and are interested in like Skyping and talking about it and suggesting stats and HUDs or whatever, I'm totally down to talk about this between now and hopefully episode 3, when I'll be tracker and HUD ready, and then importing hands and able to do hand review. And that's what I'm really excited about with hand review, is to be able to really do some more in-depth analysis on my play and on my hand histories and so on. So here I'm going to make it 7, so 4x plus the size of the raise, usually my size out of position. I get called, so his range I think is like, his range kind of smacks that, I think, unless he has a lower pocket pair. And I'm going to be, firstly, if I get raised here, I think it's not an easy fold, but I think it's definitely a fold, because I really only see 10 jack, king queen. I mean, all the hands that he calls a big squeeze like that with and then raises the flop beat pocket aces. So generally speaking, no one is ever bluffing here, and I can just muck that. And I think a lot of players will, especially when starting out, you're never ever folding aces. I mean, you're looking for no reason to fold aces. You don't even consider folding aces. That's flops to consider folding them. But I think, if you don't consider folding them there, players will often call and hope that the opponent shuts down on the turn. And then when they don't, kind of talk themselves into calls. At least that's a common leak that I've seen and I had when I was first starting out. So that to me actually is an easier fold than the pocket sixes fold that I made in the last video that we had some discussion about. Man, I had this like new like state-of-the-art refrigerator, and the water was coming out extremely slow for a long period of time. Finally, I put in a maintenance request, and they put in a new filter, and now it makes this gorilla music, basically. I don't even know if you guys can hear it, but it's just like a gorilla's like death moan. That's what it sounds like. I don't like it. So here I'm going to, I'll call rather than 3-bet. I think 3-betting is viable, but and once he checks, I might have check raised this flop because I think it's a flop that a lot of people see bet. And you know what? Because my friend in my last thread said that the delayed check raise is usually a sign of strength, and it's an unusual line to face, I'm just gonna bluff with it constantly. And look at that. Hopefully I don't become Wigglypuff doesn't become known for doing that, but yeah, when somebody tells me that the delayed checker is an unusual line, and you're usually at these stakes and like in 30,000 hands, he's only seen it a few times, and when he has, it's been always been the nuts. Well, I'm unusually gonna break out that line more than usual as a bluff, because it just strikes fear into the heart of my opponents. So lo and behold, well, maybe not lo and behold, but I just, if you start to see lots of people start check raising the turn, delay check raising more often from here on out, you know who to blame or thank, because you start making some hero calls and sussing out the bluffs, and then people do it more often against you because they're like, oh, he's calling so weak, he can't call this time. Yeah, that's how it's going to be. Back when training videos first came out, like, they started a lot of trends because, they were the new hot thing to watch, and so people would watch and emulate, like, all the play on card runners in the early days of DeucesCracked, and I guess they still do, and that's what's made the games kind of tougher, because people have fewer leaks because they've kind of figured out by mimicking other people like how to not lose money. But when people first started out, they were just really blindly copying things, and so there was a lot of money to be made in just understanding that these players were very exploitable because they were playing according to kind of like a textbook or a playbook. I should have taken more time in folding there, just to give that guy, be like, step off, fool. Not on my watch. Just, no, because timing is something that I've talked about in previous videos, and I want to cultivate these glorious habits. So, I mean, ideally, I think, like, let's look at games and see. We've got one shorty here, half stack. Got two half stacks here. I mean, I generally like playing with full stacks and with even, well, usually with deeper, but honestly, with my bankroll on the side hovering around like $500, probably not the greatest idea to be playing like full bankroll style on the table, deep stacks, because it's higher variance and so on and so forth. Here I'm going to lead if I get check 2 because I've got that weak open ender. Just take command of the pot. It's something that I would do with an ace, a jack, or 10. So when a dia opens, I'm tempted to like try to make a play at this pot. I could raise here. I can call and raise the turn. I mean, I think he's probably leading with an ace, a jack, a 10 himself. It's like, I think most players, again, I wish I had reads and I wish I had stats so I could back up those reads with data. So it makes it kind of difficult for me on occasion. But so here, where I called with king 10 against the button, is a very similar situation. I can call with ace 10 here. Actually, you know what? I will call instead of 3-betting this again. See here, I flopped 2 pairs, so I need to play it a little bit differently. I'm just actually going to continue leading here. I think a lot of people check call, but they miss some value. Where the players who check call could get, I don't think this is a board that players are going to bluff much with in position, but players that check call only get 1 street, maybe 2 streets. If, as you can see, I like to 3-bet a lot. 2 streets maybe if generous against like an ace X type of hand, but here I c-bet just hoping he like either calls with overcards and folds a turn, or just calls his pocket pair and folds a turn, and so on and so forth. And I'm just going to continue. Here I'm going to bet 2/3 pot because it's the kind of play where I'm not going to bet the river if he calls again. Whereas I think like if I bet like half pot, which I might against some players because I would intend on jamming the river, and I'm going to 3-bet here again, and I'll tell you why in a second. I just basically think that this guy is a player because he's a shorter stack. I can get more information and put like a little bit more weight behind my bet by betting slightly more. Whereas, so here I squeezed, and I'll elaborate more on that if you guys have any questions. I'm going to squeeze again here. So now I'm developing like a really aggro reputation. Here on the bottom right, I squeeze there just because it's very difficult for Sexy Beastie to be calling me there. Firstly, my play looks extremely strong because I'm 3-betting out of position against an under the gun open and a call. Sure, it's a squeeze, but now I don't know what to do if higher vision shoves because I haven't played against short stacks in a while. Luckily, I hit the jackpot. And now, so the question is, do I just jam? No, I'll bet half pot and let him check raise some bajunky stuff or a pair or whatever. And he's going to check raise any piece of this. And even worse, like, wow, that's just crazy. This guy's a fish. Heart? No. So, yeah, I 3-bet the deuce 5 suited, and I don't do that every time I have deuce 5 suited. I do it now and then, and now I'm going to calm down because I've basically been 3-betting across all tables, although I forget that the bottom right is a 50-cent dollar table, so it's kind of okay that I did that, whereas on these other 3 tables are 25-cent 50, so I'm not playing with the same opponents. Interesting. Well, I threw the deuce 5 suited because it just looks very strong, and I get a lot of credit, and Sexy BC folds many hands that would open under the gun, but really can't play a pot in position, like hands like ace jack off, king queen off, king jack suited even maybe. So here, I mean, I could 4-bet and call a shove. I can just call in position. I've lost a lot of money 4-betting ace queen and calling it off, and so I generally enjoy playing it with position, especially with position. I would, if I was out of position, I'd probably 4-bet call it off more gladly because it's more difficult to play hands out of position. But with position, he bet huge, so I'm gonna fold there, and I want to make that note on higher vision that like called open with 6-6, then called button squeeze OP, then check raise all in 1/2 pot bet on king 9-7 heart. So yeah, he bet big, but yeah, ace queen suited in position, even ace queen off. I like playing that because I can bluff with them more easily in position. I just have more flexibility taking a flop in position in general than I do turning a hand as strong as ace queen into what's essentially a bluff. Now, in certain heads-up matches, and to those who asked me to include a heads-up table, sorry, I will be doing that in the future. We got 8 videos, plenty of time to get saucy. In certain heads-up matches, I would be 4-betting ace-queen, and even in certain aggressive 6-max games with the right dynamic, and by right dynamic, I really mean the right dynamic, when you've got somebody clearly tilted. And when I say clearly tilted, and I say it in that tone of voice, I mean, like, this guy is just giving his money away hand over fist. Not like, oh, he got it in like a little bit light in one occasion, or like he shoved ace king to a check raise on like king 6-9 with a flush draw and you had pocket sixes. I mean, like, he shoved, some crazy, he got caught in a bluff, then he starts like open shoving the next hand, stuff like that. When you in 6-max games, when you've got this that type of dynamic, then you might 4-bet ace queen, because what's going to happen is you're going to get bluff 5-bet shoved often. That happens very often in like heads-up matches when you put somebody on tilt, and that's really how you bust a guy's entire roll and have these like +10 plus buy-in sessions against players who don't know that they're tilting and should quit. Here, what is he raised with? I mean, he could be raising with big flush draws, pocket pairs, and sets, obviously, and he could be bluffing. It's a fine spot to bluff. He's got less than a short stack, though. He's got a short stack. I don't know. I'll give him the benefit of a doubt. Again, it's the kind of thing, like, if I was playing in these games every single day, and I was aware of who all these players are, then maybe I'd have some better reads on the ranges and some better lines, and that's something that unfortunately, and I hope I can start to develop a feel for the players in these games. And once I do, and once I really start, I think once I get like 10,000 hands under my belt playing these stakes, I'll have a really, really great feel for what's going on and how to. Plus, hopefully, I've got that hand analysis that I'm able to do, and hopefully, I've had the benefit of our in-depth intellectual discussions, and by that point, I'll be cruising my way up to small stakes in no time. Then who knows where we're going? We going to the nosebleeds? I don't know. Can't predict the future. I'm not a precog. The odds are slim, but as I've often quoted, never tell me the odds. I always like to just pot out gut shots and stuff. I don't know why. It's like when I'll just pop bluff the river here. Don't let him call a 6 or a 4 or anything else. Of course he could have an ace, but we'll go for it. I could maybe bet 2/3 pot as well. So what does he have when he calls this flop? Pocket pairs, a 7, a flush draw, a queen, and here I think he's nearly always got like either an ace himself or a 7, and so speak of the devil, heads up. So I would bet as if I was bluffing with the ace, is what I was trying to say. And heads up is my forte. So he min raises, I make a small 3-bet, he 4-bets, yeah, he could be 4-bet bluffing ace-x, he could be, but I don't have a reason to think that he's 4-bet bluffing, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt there and fold. It's tempting to jam, but I don't like taking these high variance plays without big reads, which, as I'm sure by now you can tell, is sort of my MO. I would 3-bet ace-5 off on occasion as well. Here I'm just going to lead and see where we're at. Heads up, I like to mix in some leading now and then in spots where I think my opponent is going to control the pot often, and I think 5-6-8 is a board that people like don't see bet 100% when they're bluffing, or when they check back they try to control the pot, and in my experience in boards in which seem to be the type of texture that are open to, or sort of pot control conducive, I like to take that option away from my opponent with my big hands and with my weakish hands too, that really don't want to give up free cards and let my opponent realize more of his equity. So I min raise and then I get like min 3-bet on he checks. I mean, I don't really know what any of this means. I'm just gonna try to get to showdown. Give this fool, who I think is a bit fishy, stay out of his way and try to maximize value. Hit some hands, bluff catching spots that seem to be bluff catchable. And this guy's a limper. I don't really have a read on his range. I'm just going to continue to isolate him, especially the hand like 9s. And, you know, sometimes I might even 3-bet king 7 off. Out of position, 'cause, you know, kind of strong, but in a heads-up game, like think about it like a limit hold'em match. But not against this guy. Again, tight is the name of the game. Tempting to float, very tempting with ace high. I'm not gonna make ace high call down with ace deuce, because I can't. I have like one less card. If I had like ace jack or ace queen, I might. Well, for one, I definitely call the flop because I would just have more chances at hitting an overcard against a pocket pair if you happen to be 3-betting a pocket pair. I got my green tea lemon zinger. I'm a big green tea fan, and this lemon zinger stuff is pretty legit. So we got like a 3-betting maniac here, which is cool, and obviously we don't have super great reads on him, but you know, because oh wow. So how much to bet? Well, we just gotta keep betting big. Against players like this, like when you flop top pair, it might even be a Here I'm going to bet on the off chance this dude has ace-king. But against these guys who are 3-betting a lot, I mean, I can call him a 3-betting maniac because while he could have premium hands that he's been 3-betting, he's 3-bet 3 times in a very short period of time, odds are that, it's less likely that he was dealt a God mode run of hands, and much more likely that he's very aggressive with the 3-bets. In which case, 10x becomes a raising hand if you think that you can get him to bet call with very air, really, overcards trying to hit or an ace trying to hit. Or you can get him to 3-bet all in or 3-bet bluff. I mean, it's a good reason. A way to tilt an aggressive player is by giving him, making him feel like you're picking on him, because these guys want to pick on you. They don't want to be picked on. That's sort of their psychology. Although there are the aggressive players who are just more thinking, who when you call, they start to evaluate ranges. They think you have a weak range because you didn't raise, and so they might barrel bluff you. It's important to tell the difference, especially in the short-handed, 3-handed, 2-handed, 2-handed matches, because you may, for instance, on that 10-deuce-4 flop, you might get that guy to stack off with pocket sixes or ace high. I like taking suited cards that can make a straight like that. Here against a loose player, I'm also gonna be 3-betting paint because for value. But sorry, if you raise that hand with 10x, you can get him to stack off on the flop. Whereas if you called, he might just check fold the turn. So you don't want to miss that value, basically. I'm going to make a loose call here only because I have the button and a backdoor flush draw. He can be betting with 7 himself, or 7, 6, 7. He could be betting with better hands, queen x. He could be betting gut shots. There's some hands that I'm ahead of. And now when I turn the flush draw, I actually might very well consider bluffing here. But when he checks, the problem is he's now gone into pot control mode. I think a queen would continue betting. So the question is, am I going to be able to blow him off an 8? I don't know. I'll take the free card there. But honestly, that's a spot. That's a spot where I'm kind of inclined to take the free card more often than try to move this guy off an 8. But obviously I'm not moving off a queen, and I think he'd bet the queen on the turn. Now the question is, what do you do if you get jammed on? God, that would be absolutely terrible, and it's happened to me many times in the past. And I'm pretty sure I'm just folding if I get jammed on there. It's you're always looking at a better flush. Almost always. Sometimes you you run into Ash. Oh, I don't know why I min-raise that. I guess I get a free showdown. That's why I min-raise it. Sometimes you get a 10 high flush that's accidentally jamming on you because they didn't realize that you could have a flush too. I've done that before too. It's not fun. You're oh, why did I do that? I'd love to bust Loki Yokel in the 10 to 15 minutes we have remaining. So if you're watching at this point, just lend me your wishes, people of TC. I could use a good bust him up. Here we go, sir. And I will bluff with 4-6 suited. I think this is better, to bluff with this hand in position. I mean, it goes against what I was saying in terms of playing tight, but when you have position and he's 3-betting a lot, I think it's totally fine. And my hand is kind of repping extreme strength in this spot, and if he continues, I think like he's usually got an ace, flush draw, possibly a big queen. So I just basically another way to play against these loose 3-betters is to start 3-betting the 4-bet bluffing hands that are a little bit too weak to call in position, but you still want to play. I guess that's sort of my justification because I don't like folding those hands. And here, if he bets again, I'm probably gonna check raise depending on the bet size. Yeah. Now it's big, so it's like, is he betting a jack that big or is he bluffing? But no, I'm gonna check raise and hope to get his money because he sucks. And I just 4-bet him last hand, so hopefully he has like a hand that he wants to put money in with that big bet. And we're gonna get it all. Oh, when he goes into the time bank, and that might have been honestly too big, and he's probably thinking like, why so big? He's trying to justify putting it in, putting me on a draw. There are a lot of draws out, which is why I like going big as well. But come on, with this much time, he's not going to fold. There we go. Hook, line, and sinker. You know what, guys? You made that happen. Because I know some of you paused the video. I know some of you guys put your hands together. You bowed your head to your heart and said, please, poker gods, let Jay, let Krantz get some good mojo. We want to see him get to the nosebleeds. We could say that. We knew him when. And you know what? You did that. Thank you. May you all run good in return. Everyone who watched this video, you guys are going to run good this week. And if you don't, and if you get doom switched, I'm sorry I jinxed you, but you're going to run good next week. If you don't, then I'll ship you $20 on this site. So if you play on this site, what does he check raise all in there? Or maybe a set, maybe just a super big draw, king, queen, I don't know. Sometimes it's hard to put yourself in the mindset of a dude who limps every hand and then check raises all in for like 75 big blinds into a single raise pot. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how much more I can say about that. Let's just look at my big stack on this table. It's so pretty. Ace-10 off, I think, for some people might be a little bit too elusive and open under the gun. I know in mid-stakes games and higher, the tougher the games were, the less I'm opening this hand because you're just getting 3-bet so much by people that it's just really tough to play. I mean, you could 4-bet bluff with this hand, but again, people start to have like really balanced ranges and they're like very stats oriented and they pretty much know like they have the regulars have just like way fewer leaks than players at these stakes have. Like I can get away with playing like a little bit looser than I should in these games because I make up for a lot of what I'm leaking pre-flop, post-flop. I'm making good decisions, but B, like other players are also making and they're leaking more pre-flop. Like they're making calls that they shouldn't out of position. They're making calls in position when they should be 3-betting. I really think the best skill you could develop and something that I'll want to be really sharp with again before I move up is just hand reading in every situation. It's like putting people on ranges and narrowing down these ranges with extreme accuracy, regardless of the player type. And when you're able to do that, and it takes just a lot of practice and a lot of talking about poker, then you can comfortably adjust them. That was kind of a loud adjust, I think. I should have raised that and isolated this guy again. You can just comfortably adjust the higher and higher you go. All the way to the nosebleeds. What's sick about the nosebleeds and the high stakes and the mid stakes, a lot of people have fear. They fear moving up. They fear that the players are so balanced, they're so good, they're going to exploit me, they know what I'm doing. Sure, they do, but by really developing your basic skills while you're down here and by caring much more about strengthening those skills than you do instead of and minimizing leaks and loose call, but I love playing position. Minimizing your leaks, you can A, make yourself less prone to weakness, and B, make yourself just a stronger player in those games, sometimes even stronger than the players that are playing there. And the reason, so now we get it like a super huge raise. I'm tempted to just like, this is like pretty loose, but I hope that big ass raise kind of means that he's got a big hand, so I always call trying to hit like a straight draw or straight or two pair or trips. The hand was just should have been a fold. Should have been a fold pre-flop. That's what I get for saying I can get away with playing a little bit loose but making up for it post-flop. Like in a situation like that, it's really sketchy. But yeah, so A, I forget what reason A was that I was talking about in terms of goals for moving up for people. But B, you're at the end of the day, everyone playing No Limit Hold'em 6 Max is playing the same game. You have 2 cards, and there are 5 community cards. Everyone, no one's getting dealt jokers or anything. Everyone's playing the same game here, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So don't try to eliminate your fear. Fear is just your mind telling you you're not good enough, you're not worthy. And honestly, if you know how to play poker, you're sitting at the table, you're worthy. And again, this is great spot to bluff in position against a frequency better like me. How do you fight back against that? You c-bet less, you start checking strong hands, you start, you just bet, c-bet less or bet with a stronger range, or open, even open, tighter. Queen 7 suited, kind of loose. So we'll do one more orbit and then we'll wrap up, and I'm hoping that this week, again, I'll set up PT4 and we'll do a little look-see at my HUD next week and start to incorporate some data into the range analysis while I'm playing, as well as use the tracker to look at hands, keep track of the amount of hands I'm playing, look at hand histories, and go more in depth in general. The deeper you go, the harder they fall. I don't think that's how it goes, but maybe it should. Saw a really crazy movie yesterday called Holy Motors. I saw it because it got a lot of buzz, being one of the best films of 2012. Really crazy. Art movie. If you like non-traditional stories and kind of artsy stuff, this is really out there and pretty cool. It's about this one man who lives inside the world of movies, a world of movies, and the story is he basically rides around in a white limo each day, and this is you see one day in his life, and as he goes to work, he goes to 11 appointments throughout the day, and each appointment he inhabits a completely different role and personality, from everything from a motion capture performer in a crazy fantasy sex scene to a one-eyed crazy homeless person to a man who's on his deathbed. I mean, it's really out there, and you're with this guy the entire time and his driver, and that's a value bet, by the way, the Queen 10, because he didn't bet until at all, and so by the river I know I have the best hand unless he has like king 10. Uh, anyway, the movie's out there. It's pretty funny, entertaining. Might try your patience at times if you're not used to it, but to kind of slower movies that don't really follow a traditional story approach, but I enjoyed it. They're not really up. Those movies aren't really up my alley. Give me like a good like action or sci-fi or thriller or horror, adventure, even romantic comedy movies. Like the more of the standard genres are usually, and I'll watch anything. There's usually where my sweet spot is, but I like to expand my palette now and then. I'm obviously into film and how they're created and what goes into every aspect of film and storytelling, and so now and then I like to dip outside the norm and see things that get the critics really excited. Alright, we're gonna play this one in position in the hopes that Burn It Down will come in too. So we're all full stacked. What's interesting now is trying to make a play at this, which I will, to try and get this guy to A, fold a bluff, and B, fold all hands except Jack Jack and King King. Hoping he'll fold Ace King and aces. And obviously queens. Maybe that's hoping too much because I was able to make a fold earlier. I was trying to reverse that. Trying to reverse that play. Reverse engineer that play. I'm curious what you guys think of that raise, obviously. Do you think that players will fold ace? Do you think players will fold aces or ace king? And if let's say they call with those hands on the flop, do you think they'll fold to a turn bet? Because if the answer is no, well, if the answer is no to both, then it's obviously a bad flop raise. If the answer is no, oh, this was too big. It should be $2. If the answer is no to the second one, then I should have raised smaller on the flop and risked, probably like $5 less, make it 2.5x, and that would have been enough. If Cool Deb didn't re-raise, I would have folded as well. Obviously shouldn't have folded. This is this situation I could squeeze also, especially once Almironi came in. All right, that's that for today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let's get a dialogue going again. Actually, we'll just play through. Especially because I have ace queen. When he calls the flop, I mean, I imagine he usually has like a pair or straight draw. When he bets a turn, he's probably got like 10x or better. Alright, yeah. I'll look forward to talking to you guys in the thread and sharing ideas and so on and so forth. And I will see you guys next week. I'll post his hand history if it's interesting. He's probably going to fold. Or he's going to re-raise me all in. Or do something weird and crazy. You don't need to stick around and watch. Maybe you want to. He's in the time bank. I don't know. What's he going to do? I can't stop. Oh, I got to stop. This is just a waste of time. You should go. You're not going to learn anything. Maybe you will. We flop top pair. Good for you. You stayed around. Ah, he folded. You should have left. Good game, all. See you next time.